Okay, hello everyone. I'm Vidas Vasiliauskas, and today I will be presenting you a webinar about how to apply Agile and Lean practices for personal task management, and of course by using our software Eylean board. So I'm a project manager myself, and I have a broad understanding of how to handle projects and the whole team organization stuff, but as well, I started from some point getting into my interest of project management, and at first it was just because I had a personal tasks, and I had to improve my pace, improve my effectiveness, and I had to organize them pretty well. So I want to start with a slight agenda that I'm going to cover today. So we will talk about problems, and most common of those which arise in day-to-day routines. Of course, that will be introduction to Agile and Lean practices and their subsets of Scrum and Kanban. I will also demo Eylean board tool and how you can use it for your daily work. And of course, there will be practical insights from our customers, benefits, and later on we will have a discussion and question-answer session just after the webinar. So, first of all, I want to ask you, why do you think you're here? And this question can have a lot of answers. So, first reason, you're struggling with your tasks, you're struggling with your projects, you want to find out new and innovative ways to organize your stuff. So as in this picture, there's a monitor filled with sticky notes, and well, it's a very bad example how one can ruin his task list, because this is just titles of tasks without meaningful priority and status, and you can always lose track what's going on by employing such an unuseful technique. And of course, there's always student syndrome, which involves people working harder in the end of the project instead of working their average effort by the whole project timeline. It's just because, well, if we have a big gap of time, we get lazy a little bit in the start of it, and when we start pushing ourselves to higher efficiency, well, this can be already too late, because our project won't be meeting deadlines. So there's also tools which are used for project management, like Microsoft Project. Well, it's a great tool for critical chain, for critical projects, big projects, but it has its own drawbacks, like well, it's very ineffective when changes happen, and well, your Gantt chart is ruined, your strict schedule is going to waste just because the unexpected happened. And well, most of us probably agree that in nowadays projects, the requirements change a lot, the customers change a lot, the whole resource situation inflicts the project itself, and well, those changes can make a lot of effort just a simple waste. And of course, Microsoft Excel, well, even I did this, and this is a bad decision, just because you can write down tasks in Excel, but imagine a normal project would probably have hundreds or even thousands of tasks, and it's unreadable. If anyone would like to open the document and see the progress or status, they will need to spend a tremendous amount of time to get familiar with what are the tasks, what are the statuses of the tasks. They will need to read everything. They will need to read literally the whole document, the whole thousand of tasks. So, well, I think this is a bad approach, and we can move to better approaches. And of course, we need to plan our project. We need to plan our effort. And this is a famous phrase of Winston Churchill that I like a lot. So it sounds like, he who fails to plan is planning to fail. So it states this point where we need to plan, but we don't need to plan too much ahead. So why Agile or Lean? Well, these two practices are meeting those nowadays requirements of changing environment, of a very agile environment where people come in and get out, where new requirements arrive every day, where changes arrive every day, and where force majeure is happening more often than it should be. So there are two schools, Agile and Lean. Agile comes from software development and it has its own tool set called Scrum. And Lean comes from production on manufacture lines, from Toyota itself, and it has its subset of Kanban. So basically Scrum is all about working in short iterations and producing end value after each iteration to customer. And it solves student syndrome very well because your project period gets only 2 or 4 weeks and your team effectiveness rises because they can be lazy at the start of the week, but in the end they will be working hard. So working hard 4 times a month is better than working hard only the last week in the long period of, for instance, 1 or 2 years of a project. And Lean or Kanban is all about visual perspective, about visualizing your workflow and items and sharing this vision with all your team members. So if you're already familiar with whiteboards filled with sticky notes, you will know what I'm talking about already. I will get into soon in this demoing our tool, but first of all we need to agree on a few simple rules. First one is a task card. A task card is basically an item, a sticky note, a placeholder for a meaningful and valuable feature or product or item that benefits your customer, and it is strictly understandable to everyone. It is clear, it doesn't have lots of meanings, it contains a short description. This item can be measured, it can be assigned to a particular team member or user. Of course, it can be a part of a bigger task, and as I've already told, it brings meaningful value. So this task must be estimated, and it must be estimated not longer than 2 days or 16 hours, or, well, even better practice is having less than 1 day tasks because, well, the larger the task, the bigger the latency is on status reports. For instance, we have a task which takes 1 week. So we will need to wait a whole week to know that this task is late, for instance. So that's unacceptable. So you need to learn to teach yourself how to collide tasks, how to decouple them, how to make them small enough to be done in 1 day or less than 8 hours. And of course, there are lots of measurement options. One option is to measure by hours. Second option is to measure by story points. Story points are some kind of a derivative value of hours, but teams that don't like to get into specific time, for instance, my task could take from 1 hour to 1 hour 30 minutes. Well, this is too much of a headache for me to decide if those 30 minutes are okay. So I might choose valuing those in story points, some abstract values which has numbers like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. Yes, this comes from planning poker, and this method called planning poker employs gaps between task sizes, because when estimating in hours you might get very specific and get too much arguments on, is this task taking 4 hours or 5? Well, the gap between those isn't too big, and this hour can be told like, we will take 5 hours just because we want to assure ourselves that we won't be late. Okay, that's it. But if we have lots of tasks like this, we have additional project estimation of what? In 1,000 tasks, we will have additional 1,000 hours. So that's a waste. And in story points, you have quite good gaps. You have 1, then twice the size is 2, then 3, then 5, then 8, then 13. this makes very clear distance. And of course, this distance is based on Fibonacci sequence. You can Google this later, how those numbers are calculated. They're very easy. It's a very easy sequence. And of course, there's another type which I fancy a lot, is t-shirt sizing. So we can estimate our tasks like small is for S, M is for medium, L is for large, XL is for extra large. So we can, but we will need to work this out. We will be working 1 or 2 or 3 iterations until we understand how many t-shirts we can produce in this period of time. So after that, we will know how many t-shirts we need to plan to produce in some period of time. Well, this technique is playful and is acceptable to everyone more easily because, well, when we are talking about strict timetables, everybody gets frustrated and they are afraid of mismeasuring something, so they start measuring higher values. And by measuring t-shirts, you are measuring some kind of abstract thing and you don't worry too much about it because you know how many t-shirts you can make in 1 week or 2 weeks. Now, the core component of this whole practice is a board. It's a whiteboard or a white sheet of paper, big white sheet of paper on your wall. If you have a team that is sitting in one office, in one physical place, you're already lucky because you can put a whiteboard, draw 3 columns, which will be symbolizing what needs to be done, what is being done, and what has been done already. So basically, it's a transparency board. Everybody sees the progress, everybody sees the priorities, everybody sees what is the next most important thing that needs to be done. And of course, this is the board for transparent team understanding, what are the responsibilities of each of the members, and of course, this board provides insights for everyone that is not related to a team, for instance, management, CEOs, or corporate. Of course, if you're a distributed team or working personally, you will be using tools because, well, keeping this board takes time. And after doing this, even if you have local team, you will decide to switch to tool because, well, it takes too much time to write down sticky notes, stick them to that board. You will need to also adapt your board, update it, reprioritize it, and, well, tools are way much easier to do that. Well, and of course there's two circles. There's life and work, and if you're working as a person, as a freelancer, a professional, you will need to manage 2 different projects. By projects, I mean your own life and your work, and those tasks will also interfere one with each other. So there are lots of possibilities by using tools how you can adopt this. And, well, now I will fire up Eylean, and I will present you how this tool can help you in your personal task management. So let's create a simple basic workspace, and we will start by using in no time. I will show you how this is easy. Well, this is a little bit too wide. We'll shorten the columns, just the board to fit my screen. Here it is. So we have this 3 easy steps. What needs to be done, what is being done, and what is already done. So we start by creating tasks in our backlog. Well, it might be in planning phase. We prepare those, and our goal is to push them through the process. It is doing, this is done, this one is being done, this one's being done, and this is already done. So my goal is to pull those tasks into the end. You hear what I say? Pull, not push. Even in a team, the main idea is to pull tasks. So whenever a person completes one task, he pulls another. Not his manager goes and pushes one. Because, well, in traditional ways, in traditional teams, well, a worker might call his manager and say, all right, I've completed my current assignment, what should I do next? And in this perspective, this step is taken out. Everybody knows what is the next thing to do for themselves. So you already might have noticed this number 1 out of 5. This is a limit that comes from Kanban. I will show you how this can benefit you. For instance, if we are working like 2 people on the same project, I will have a limit that says only 2 tasks can be done at the same time. And by this I mean that we have 2 persons and they can work on particular task at the same time. They don't need to do multitasking. If there are more than 2 tasks, for instance like this, of course Eylean will inform you that you will overflow your process. This is a problem because multitasking is time wasting. So you will want to avoid that. And of course, this is your valve of pipeline. You control how many items you can produce. So the process is as good as its bottleneck is. So this is your bottleneck, the production. If you're going for more steps, like for instance, you're not fond of having only work in progress, but you need something like quality assurance step, you can easily just add it to your board. And for instance, when the item is done, it goes to quality assurance. Someone in the team just, for instance, I myself, I will take this task, easily assign it to me. Everyone will see that I'm doing this task, and I will drag this through quality assurance, and only then it will reach done state. So you see, it's very easy to manage the board. And for instance, if I like to add additional approval step, for instance, I can always say the quality assurance is done, but this item needs some CO signing or approving that this item can be sent to the customer. So that's it. I have my steps. Now the next technique I enjoy a lot is how you need to plan only on demand. Planning only on demand means everybody asks a question. How do I know how many items should I plan for my project in one iteration or one period? Because what is Agile? Agile forces you to work in sprints or periods of time cycles, in 2 weeks or 4 week cycles. So, for instance, we need to know what we should do only for 2 weeks, because after 2 weeks the situation might change, so we won't invest our time into planning the whole project tasks. So we plan only for 2 weeks. And for instance, by dragging and producing those task items, in some point of time we'll begin to understand how many items we can accomplish in 2 or 4 weeks. And by that measurement we will know how many items we can plan for those 2 weeks to fulfill our needs. Or planning on demand is more for a Kanban perspective, because well, Scrum is all about those cycles, and Kanban is more of a production line, a conveyor which rapidly develops something. So it's very good for support, it's very good for manufacturing something. Well, some software projects are also a manufacturing line, as you can imagine. So for instance, I have my 2 persons working on this, and I have my backlog of, for instance, G task and so on. And there's a question, how should I know when I need to fill in my backlog with new items? This is the technique I will show you. So I have my, for instance, buffer column, which will have a task limit of 4. This would mean that there will always be 4 items, and not more, not less. So whenever person is done, he grabs 1 item from a buffer, right? So there are 2 items, 2 persons working. The buffer always fills in from the backlog. And you see, the backlog is empty. So this is the trigger that you need to do planning. And buffer is still filled with tasks, so you are safe. You are safe that those people working on the project can take new items, but they still have some time for you to plan new items. And while you plan new items, they're working, and after the planning is done, you introduce new items into the buffer. That's it. Simple as that, but it's a very powerful technique because it saves you time. It notifies you when you need to plan. You don't make it chaotic. And of course, it always has most important items ready for your team. And you always know what is the next most important thing that needs to be done. So this is great, and I hope you will find this useful and apply it. Now, going through the board features, let's open the task details. It has a lot of information because Eylean focuses to provide a repository and a place where you can store everything, because, well, there are lots of tools. There are tools for time tracking, tools for backlog, tools for bug tracking, and many more. Tools for documents, and, well, Eylean is all in one place. You can store documents here. Like, for instance, I will grab some kind of a documentation. I will select my due date when this item needs to be finished. I can estimate in complexity points or hours. I can have even an alert, for instance, lack of info. So whenever I'm working with other people, my project manager can come in and see, okay, Vidas is having trouble with some kind of an item. I should help him immediately. You will always have your team here. You will delegate people the tasks, and moreover, you will have lots of options to differentiate the task from one another by coloring schemes, and also will be able to track time on this task. For instance, this is an integrated time tracker, and let's say, well, we have this customer also which likes a lot to track this time because it's an accounting firm, and they work like they have projects and they have their accountants, and they are looking always for the most effective match, because some people tend to do better on particular projects. So everyone are tracking time on the tasks, and when they finish, they go to reports, and there's a track time sheet which says, all right, there's a track time by someone for a particular task, and later on they can compare if there are more people. How many times did they do? For instance, if I track here a few seconds, it's not meaningful, but I can always track manually. For instance, like this, I just plus 1 hour. Or I can go into detailed track time, and I can easily manually add more hours. For instance, if I forgot yesterday to add some time, I will just select this date, and that's it. I can go back to reports, and I have my track time. I can slice it by week, for instance, and this helps me also to understand what's going on in my project. I can always show you a bigger demo project which contains a lot of data, because, well, you might see, well, it's one person, okay, but how does it look with bigger teams? So we will need to wait a slightly because I'm on Wi-Fi, so it's loading my big project slowly. Okay, let's try this once more. Hope this opens up quickly. Yes, here it is. So this is already a complex board. Well, this one earlier I've shown was very simple to understand, but this one is complex. It contains quality assurance with metrics, it contains all the restrictions, it contains approval phases, and so on. So it contains even rows. Rows are the phases or iterations or sprints, or they can also mean some kind of a category, or you can differentiate by projects. But in our company we do those. There is a versions of our product, so the row itself means that there is a version with items, and they need to be completed in their particular period of time. So for instance, if I go back to, well, there's a dashboard also. I can see my team working on a particular task. I can see statistics, the progress, and I can see my timesheets. For instance, let's do it from October, and I have lots of data here. And, well, this is a sample how we can compare people working on it, how we can benefit from it. We can have different slices, and of course we have lots of other reports. For instance, Burndown chart. Burndown chart is a Scrum technique and Scrum tool that helps you to track how many items you have on particular day remaining. So for instance, here I have my average velocity. It means I can make 9.4 items per week. So I can see that today on January the 30, I have still 34 items remaining, and this is not good because my velocity is way behind it and I need to be finished by the end of the month. So I know that my project is going to be late, but if we can see here, we already knew that in January 10th, because this is dashed line symbolizes the ideal burn down path, how our burn down should go, because in this date we already had problems because some of the tasks probably were too big and we had to wait 1 week until we knew that we are late. So this is an example how you should not do. Of course, there's a different slicing of a boards also, because we have one board for planning. It contains only few steps, and when we are ready to publish an item to get into development, the production, we drop it into the development and it appears here. So we can always keep our board focused on what is the most important thing currently and what is the most important phase we're doing now. As a team members, we can always filter our tasks, for instance, just to keep track of our own stuff. We can always manage the scope. For instance, today I'm working only on version 1.4, so I will hide the earlier phase. And this tool gives a lot of freedom, yet a lot of opportunities to evaluate and measure your performance, constructively organize your stuff, and put all the information you would like into one place. It also has integration to other tools like Excel or Outlook. You can import tasks from Excel, or you can import emails from Outlook, or even tasks from Outlook, and they will be transformed in those little yellow sticky notes, so you don't lose any information and you keep everything under one hood. And of course, there was a powerful configuration, so you can always improve and adjust your process as you like it. So this is a short presentation of a tool. I'm going back to talk a little bit about the benefits I've showed you. So first of all, you will have a documented process. Everybody will know what are the core steps that tasks need to go through to be done and delivered. The process is measurable. You always know how many items you can produce in a particular time, and you will be lean on waste. You will plan only on demand. You will keep everything tidy, and you will see how your investment of time will benefit. Also, you will know what are the most important things to do next, and you will be able to merge different projects, different areas and categories into one view. Team version benefits will help your distributed team to collaborate because it's a server-client application. You install it as a Skype on your client machines, and they connect through the server and share the same info. And of course, there's a meaningful thing for teams. They will see the same goal, same view. They share the data files on project. They will have metrics and all the dashboard benefits day by day. And of course, the statistics will tell you how good you are doing. So that's it for today. Here are the main contacts, the Eylean.com, where you'll be able to download the free version of our tool, or if you're going for the team trial, you will be able to order it. And of course, you will have my email with us at Eylean.com for questions, feedback, or any consultation you would like to get. And Camilla at Eylean.com is for sales and team version contacts. And finally, the slides will be on slideshare.net under Vidas Vasilauskas' name. So I hope you found something interesting and you will try to apply some techniques on your own environment. And I'm looking forward to meeting you on other webinars we're going to host in the future. So thank you for your time, and later on I will be scheduling a discussion and question-answer session. So thanks, and see you again.